Hey folks, welcome back to GP Reactions. I hope you're well. Hope you've been having a fantastic day and fantastic week. I just want to thank everybody that has subscribed, has suggested songs, has commented on reactions, and have also donated to my Buy Me a Coffee, which I really appreciate that kind of support. And I really got to apologise for not being around for the last couple of weeks. I was offered some overtime at last minute, and it was kind of spread over a few weeks, basically. And it just meant that I was kind of working at really odd hours, so quite tiring, really. So that said, I've had a couple of days off already, and I feel a little bit more refreshed, and I really can't wait to get back to some reactions. So, this is a track that I'm not familiar with. It's from a chap called Billy Bragg. And the only one I've heard of Billy Bragg was actually two I've heard. One was in the 90s, I think it's called Sexuality, and the other one was New England, which I'm not sure if I've reacted to that. But they were the vague ones that I've heard. I wasn't really listening to much music at the beginning of '85 or around about this time. But yeah, this is this is another one with Steve Wright on Top of the Pops, and this was a track that actually reached number 16. It's called Between the Walls, and it's from uh, I'm not sure what the EP was called, but it was from an EP around about 1985, February 1985, and I think from what I've read, this EP had something to do with the miners' strike as well. So it doesn't surprise me if this track is going to be sort of along those lines. But yeah, I'm gonna just click play and see what it's about. I know some people don't particularly like Billy Bragg, don't like his style of singing, but um, I've never felt him, you know, that I've heard a couple of tracks, like I've said, and it's never really sort of turned my ears away from that. I just never bothered to actually listen to it anymore. I don't think I was really very politically minded back in the mid '80s. Um, just too busy having a good time, to be honest. Didn't have that much money either, but I guess I really should have maybe listened to more of his stuff back then. But it kind of like passed me by, so this is my opportunity now to get stuck into some Billy Bragg.
Well, now, it took me 3 listens before I really understood this song. This really is an evocative song. Live in the studio, would you welcome Billy Bragg and Between the
Serious face on.
I was a miner, I was a docker, I was a railwayman. Between the wars, I raised a family in time of austerity with sweat at the foundry. Between the wars, I paid the union, and as times got harder, I looked to the government to help the working man, but they brought prosperity down at the armory. We're arming for peace, me boys, between the wars.
So far, I got like an historical feel about this. Maybe that for two world wars between the first and the second, and maybe after the second, it's just kind of that feeling of you're working for war all the time, and even in peace times, you're working for war to have enough weapons to deter the other side from, um, basically kicking off with you. Um, yeah, there's a bit about the miners as well. So there's like government influences with this track.
I kept the faith, and I kept voting not for the iron fist, but for the helping hand. For theirs is a land with a wall around it, and mine is a faith in my fellow man. Theirs is a land of hope and glory. prisoner between the wars. Call up the craftsman, bring me the draftsman, build me a path from cradle to grave, and I'll give my consent to any government that does not deny a man a living wage. Go find the young men, never to fight again. Bring up the banners from the days gone by. Sweet moderation, heart of this nation, desert us not, we are between the wars.
That was cool. I think this is taken from the same episode of Top of the Pops that I just listened to for another track, but um, it's kind of really interesting track. I kind of thought it was quite um, historical, but also with contemporary issues for today. And clearly, there was a message in this that governments they don't really kind of have the needs of people in mind. So that could be seen as quite contemporary. I'll just have a quick whiz through the lyrics. I was a miner, I was a docker, I was a railway man. Between the wars, I raised a family in times of austerity, with sweat at the foundry between the wars. Just kind of setting the scene there of people that just, have worked very, very hard for very little, to actually sort of fund or supply the instrumentation of destruction for like wars around the world, I guess. I paid the union, and at times got harder. I looked to the government to help with the working man, and down at they brought posterity down at the armory between the wars. So, does that mean that building weapons is the real economy at that time? And I guess prevention. So if you still building weapons between the wars, then you are kind of building to protect your country, I guess, and deter others from attacking. I kept the faith and I kept voting, not for the iron fist, but for the helping hand. I think there's always hope when you vote for a political party that they will. They always promise to help, their citizens, subjects, um, as we're both in the UK. And I think sometimes what actually happens is events happen, of course, that can change the manifesto, but they never really get round to actually doing a proper job of helping. And it, I've not had, I mean, you've only got to look at the state of the UK right now to know that there's a lot wrong in how it's managed from the top down. I'm not just talking government. I'm talking, National Health Service, the police, everything is just seems to be mismanaged. Local councils, obviously where I am, our council's gone bust. Biggest council in the UK, I think, or the biggest council to go bust at the moment. So, and that's only going to get. I think that will have the same effects will be felt around the country with other councils. So it kind of feels like nobody's getting help. So I kind of get that theirs is a land of hope and glory. Mine is the green field and the factory floor. The government's sort of spinning a dream for everybody, but the reality is something completely different. Mine is the peace we knew between the wars. Call up the craftsman, bring up the draftsman, bring me a path from cradle to grave, and I'll give my consent to any government that does not deny a man a living wage. Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, I don't think there's any governments that are really in touch with the reality of I mean, as I said at the top of this video, I've just been working so much overtime, and I guarantee you this year I'll probably not be putting my electricity on too much. I won't put my heating on. I didn't put my heating on all through the winter. Maybe 1 or 2 days when I put oil filled radiators on, and yeah, and I go to work, and so I'm fighting for hours at the moment to actually so I can make ends meet, and yeah, it just doesn't feel like a a great country to live in at the moment, and I think that this is a reality, and rather than their fantasy of we will do this, the land will be green, green energy. Um, you know, they haven't solved anything for decades, and I don't see that happening unless there's a massive change in the world, in the UK and the world. Something has to shift. There has to be a shift of consciousness or something to for people to be different. Um, and I'm not sure how that can happen, when it can happen, or if it will ever happen. Yeah, that was really, really kind of thought-provoking track, and yeah, such strong, powerful lyrics. And I don't know, a lot of people think that I've read stuff recently. Billy Bragg is a hypocrite. He sings about this, but he acts like that, and it doesn't really matter. It's still a message, and he's not necessarily bringing the country down by his words. And so yeah, I enjoyed this. It was, it's one of those that you got to go away and kind of think about and listen to a few times, because I think the more you listen to it, the more you can actually apply it to different aspects of life. But yeah, guys, tell me what you think about this. Does this does this ring any bells for now in the world we're living in? Was this part of these protests, maybe on behalf of the miners against the government at the time? Let me know if you know anything more about this track and about what it was in aid of, or what he's referring to. I really appreciate that if you join me in the comments below with that. And yeah, so till next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and have a fabulous week next week.